Hello, so today's video is a comparison video. I'm going to be comparing two fragrances from the same line, from the Hermes Barenia line. So I have the original and I have the intense version. And I'm just going to talk you through the similarities, the differences, how each one smells, and also I'm going to tell you at the end which one I actually prefer. So Hermes launched the EDP of this line, Barenia, in 2024, and in 2025 they released the Eau de Parfum Intense. So let's start off with the original Barenia. So overall, I would describe Barenia as a warm, woody, slightly leathery, also patchouli-based fragrance with a slightly tart berry feel and then also a creamy floral. It's described as a chypre by the brand, and yes, it's a mon chypre, so that would mean that it's based around patchouli rather than oak moss. But I definitely get a chypre feel. You get that kind of leatheriness, you get the patchouli, and you also get that sort of tart berry citrus opening. I think if someone just asked me for a soundbite about Barenia, I think I would describe it as smelling like a white wine cork, a slightly woodier version of a white wine cork, or like being in a cellar with white wine containing barrels. It's got that kind of white wine smell, but it's slightly deeper than that. As the fragrance dries down, it actually becomes sweeter, fresher, fruitier, lighter, brighter. It's a real upside down kind of fragrance for me. It's even a little bit creamy floral in the dry down. The ginger lily really comes through more in the dry down than it does in the opening. If you haven't smelt ginger lily, I would describe it as a combination of something like a magnolia, something really creamy, but with something quite sweet. So almost like it's combined with honeysuckle and then with a slice of fresh ginger over the top of it. It definitely does have a little bit of a heat to it. So the final dry down is really that tart berry with the creamy floral and then a patchouli and a very slight leatheriness. So does Barenia overall remind me of any other fragrances? Well, yes, initially when I first tried Barenia, I got reminded of Chloe Nomade, but I don't get that quite so much now that I know Barenia much more and I know more about how it smells through different stages. I think when you compare Barenia and Chloe Nomade is much more citrusy all the way through. It's citrusy. And also with Chloe Nomade, you get the very definite feeling of the amberwood in the base of the fragrance. Also, Chloe Nomade has much more bite from the oak moss compared with Barenia, which doesn't have oak moss. Barenia is also just not a soapy feeling fragrance, and Nomade to me does come off as slightly soapy. Barenia is also much more gentle, calmer, and just more subtle than Nomade is. Nomade is a very loud fragrance, and it lasts a lot longer than I would say Barenia does, but that's not to say that Barenia isn't a long-lasting fragrance. Overall, I would describe Barenia as smelling quite elegant, it's quite understated, and I just think that it's really interesting that it has almost an upside down construction to it. I like that the tart berry comes through even in the dry down, and I think that really makes it stand out. So that's Barenia. So next, Barenia Intense. So Barenia Intense opens much greener to me. It opens like a greener white wine, but it also soon gains a slight smoky edge to it. It's almost a birch-like leather to begin with. The opening really gives me the vision of somebody in a leather jacket drinking a little tumbler of a smoky, peaty Scottish whiskey. It's a warm fragrance and it kind of hums, it kind of vibrates with this feeling of leather and a darker patchouli than the original. As it begins to dry down, it makes me think more along the lines of a dry, unsweetened sherry. And I guess that might be because sherry is matured traditionally in oak barrels, and that might be why I think of sherry, because I think oak is listed in the notes. But I wouldn't ever name oak. As this dries down, there's a dark but mild sweetness here. It makes me think of a dark, smoked honey. There's again something quite fruity here, and I'm guessing it's that miracle berry again, but to me it smells almost like a slightly fermented apple. It makes me think of a dry cider as this dries down. The fragrance is a little bit leathery, but it's definitely nothing aggressive. It's something that's very supple and worn and a gentle leather rather than a vinyl or shiny feeling black leather. The final dry down is much, much more gentle, and it takes a few hours to get there, but really after about 3 hours, these fragrances smell pretty much exactly the same on skin. The final dry down is almost identical. So it's got that mild tart berry fruity feel alongside a bit of a white floral feel, and then again with that patchouli and also a slight leatheriness. Okay, so comparing the fragrances, how do they perform against each other? Do I think one is stronger than the other? Well, I think actually they do perform pretty well in general, but I think initially the Eau de Parfum Intense is stronger, and actually I think they catch up. As they dry down, they definitely do match each other quite well, and they do perform quite similarly as they dry down. So secondly, which one is the longer lasting fragrance? Again, I think they're pretty well matched. I think actually if I was going to slightly edge it, I would put it with the Eau de Parfum Intense, but I think it's so close that it's really not worth comparing them. They both have good longevity. So lastly, which of these two fragrances do I prefer? I think ultimately I like both, but I can see myself personally choosing Barenia EDP because from my lifestyle, I spend a lot of my time at work, and I think that Barenia is more of the work-friendly fragrance. That's the easier one to find time to wear. It's easier going, it's lighter, it's brighter, it's got more of a sparkle about it. And I think Barenia Intense is still lovely, but it's something that has a smokiness, it has more of an edginess, and it clearly is a little bit darker feeling compared with the original Barenia. Barenia Intense is definitely a noticeable flanker to Barenia. They really are sisters, especially in the very beginning and also in the dry down. They are almost twins. But into the mid and even a few seconds in, as soon as that smokiness comes in Barenia Intense, the fragrances do feel pretty different. It's only in the dry down that they reconverge. So yeah, I can see people being split in their preferences between these two. I can see these fragrances appealing to people who want them for different things, basically. I think also these fragrances could be lending themselves to seasonality or even time of day. As I've said, I would see Barenia as something lighter and brighter, perhaps more daytime, and something more work appropriate compared with Barenia Intense, where I might see it more as a nighttime fragrance or perhaps a winter fragrance, perhaps something more for play than for work. I think if you want more of the berry and the ginger lily, you would go for Barenia. I think if you want something darker, something smokier, something more leathery, something with more patchouli, then you might go with Barenia Intense. I think with Barenia and Barenia Intense, you could also compare them with alcohol. So I would look at Barenia as almost a sparkling white wine, champagne style chypre. And I would look at Barenia Intense with the kind of dark whiskey, sherry aspect of alcohol. It's just a darker, more fermented feel, really, overall, compared with the lighter, airier, sparklier Barenia. So yeah, please do let me know what you think of Barenia and Barenia Intense. If you've tried one or both of these fragrances, I'd love to know what you think of the line. And also, if you have enjoyed the video, then please do press the like button and please also consider subscribing if you haven't done already, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.